In the spring of 1912, the world stood in awe of a ship unlike anything ever built before. It was larger, more luxurious, and more advanced than any vessel that had ever crossed the ocean. People called it a miracle of engineering. Newspapers praised it. Wealthy families rushed to book tickets. Travelers dreamed of sailing aboard it. Its name was RMS Titanic. At the time, America was a land of opportunity. Millions of immigrants dreamed of reaching its shores to build a better life. For many passengers, the Titanic was more than a ship. It was a bridge to hope, success, and a new beginning. On April 10, 1912, the Titanic began its maiden voyage. It departed from Southampton carrying over 2,200 passengers and crew. Among them were wealthy businessmen, famous personalities, hard-working immigrants, and families seeking a brighter future in America. The ship was a floating city. Its grand staircase sparkled under elegant lights. Its dining halls looked like royal palaces. Its cabins offered comforts few people had ever seen at sea. Many passengers believed they were traveling on the safest ship ever built. Some newspapers even described it as practically unsinkable. That belief would soon become one of history's greatest misconceptions. As the Titanic crossed the cold waters of the North Atlantic, life on board seemed perfect. Children played along the decks, musicians entertained guests, families laughed and shared stories about the future awaiting them in America. No one imagined that disaster was quietly approaching. Several warnings had been received from nearby ships about dangerous icebergs ahead, but the Titanic continued, moving at high speed through the dark ocean. The night of April 14th was unusually calm. The sea looked like glass. The sky was filled with stars. Visibility seemed clear, yet the conditions made it difficult to spot icebergs in time. At 11:40 p.m., a lookout suddenly noticed something directly ahead. An iceberg, a massive wall of ice rising from the darkness. The alarm bell rang. The crew reacted immediately. Orders were shouted. The ship attempted to turn, but it was too late. The iceberg scraped along the side of the Titanic. At first, many passengers felt only a slight vibration. Some barely noticed anything at all, but below the surface, a catastrophe had begun. Several compartments had been breached. Cold Atlantic water poured into the ship. Engineers quickly realized the terrifying truth. The Titanic was sinking. The Unsinkable ship had suffered fatal damage. As news spread, confusion swept across the vessel. Passengers struggled to understand what was happening. Many refused to believe the danger was real. Crew members began preparing lifeboats. Unfortunately, there were not enough lifeboats for everyone on board. The ship had been designed under outdated safety regulations that underestimated the possibility of a disaster of this scale. As the bow slowly sank into the freezing ocean, panic began to grow. Families searched for loved ones. Parents held their children tightly. Friends promised they would meet again. Some never would. Despite the chaos, remarkable acts of courage emerged. Crew members worked tirelessly to help passengers. Many men stepped aside so women and children could board lifeboats first. Some passengers sacrificed their own chance of survival to save others. Perhaps the most touching story came from the ship's musicians. Knowing the danger, they continued playing music. Their melodies brought comfort and calm to frightened passengers. Even as the ship sank beneath them, they continued performing. In the early hours of April 15th, the situation became desperate. The Titanic's stern lifted high into the air. The ship's lights flickered. Then, the unimaginable happened. The giant vessel broke apart and disappeared beneath the ocean. Thousands were suddenly left in the freezing water. The temperature was deadly. Rescue could not arrive quickly enough for many. Far away, another ship, the RMS Carpathia, raced through the night after receiving distress signals. Hours later, it arrived and rescued the survivors who had escaped in lifeboats. But for more than 500 people, it was already too late. The world woke up to shocking headlines. The greatest ship ever built had vanished on its very first voyage. Families waited desperately for news. Entire communities mourned. America was especially affected because many passengers were traveling there to begin new lives. The tragedy sparked global outrage and heartbreak. Investigations revealed critical mistakes, including insufficient lifeboats, communication failures, and excessive confidence in the ship's safety. As a result, major reforms were introduced. International maritime laws were strengthened. Lifeboat requirements were expanded. Iceberg monitoring systems were improved. New safety rules helped protect future generations of travelers. More than a century later, the Titanic remains one of the most famous stories ever told. It is not remembered because it was the largest ship. It is remembered because of the human stories it carried. Stories of hope, stories of sacrifice, stories of courage, stories of dreams that crossed an ocean searching for America. The Titanic teaches a lesson that still resonates today. Technology can be powerful, but it is never perfect. Confidence can be valuable, but overconfidence can be dangerous. And in moments of crisis, the true measure of a person is revealed through courage, compassion, and selflessness. The ship may have disappeared beneath the Atlantic Ocean, but its story continues to sail through history. More than a century later, the name Titanic still captures the imagination of the world, a symbol of ambition, tragedy, and the enduring strength of the human spirit.